The history of the Tudor dynasty is fraught with intrigue, ambition, and conflict. Among the most dramatic episodes is the Dudley family's attempt to depose Queen Mary I of England. Central to this narrative are two significant efforts: the endeavour to place Lady Jane Grey, often referred to as the 9 Days Queen, on the throne, and the subsequent lesser-known attempt by Sir Henry Dudley to incite a revolution against Queen Mary. These events underscore the volatile nature of succession and the lengths to which influential families would go to secure power. The Dudley family, prominent in the Tudor court, were influential figures with ambitions that extended to the highest echelons of power. John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland, was a key architect behind the plan to place Lady Jane Grey on the throne. His ambitions were driven by both a desire to maintain Protestantism in England and a quest for power. Following the death of King Edward VI, the Dudleys saw an opportunity to bypass the Catholic Mary Tudor and Elizabeth Tudor, placing Jane, who was married to John Dudley's son, Guildford Dudley, on the throne. The death of Edward VI in July 1553 set the stage for the Dudley family's bold gambit. Edward, a Protestant, had been influenced by Northumberland to alter the line of succession, bypassing his half-sisters, Mary and Elizabeth. Instead, he named his cousin, Lady Jane Grey, as his successor. Jane, a devout Protestant, was seen as a preferable alternative to Mary, whose Catholicism posed a threat to the Protestant reforms enacted during Edward's reign. On July 10, 1553, Lady Jane Grey was proclaimed Queen. However, her reign was short-lived. Mary Tudor, a determined and popular figure, quickly garnered support. The public and the nobility, many of whom were weary of Northumberland's manipulations, rallied behind her. By July 19, 1553, Jane was deposed, and Mary was proclaimed Queen. The failure of this plot resulted in dire consequences for the Dudley family. John Dudley was executed, and Jane Grey, along with her husband, was imprisoned in the Tower of London and eventually executed in February 1554. The execution of Jane Grey did not mark the end of the Dudley family's ambitions or their resistance to Queen Mary. Sir Henry Dudley, a cousin of John Dudley, emerged as a key figure in subsequent plots against Mary. Sir Henry was a soldier and courtier with connections to influential circles both in England and abroad. Following the collapse of the Jane Grey plot, he sought to continue the struggle against Mary Tudor's rule. In 1556, Sir Henry Dudley embarked on an audacious plan to incite a revolution against Queen Mary. His efforts were fueled by a desire to restore Protestantism and seek vengeance for the downfall of his family. Dudley's plot involved a network of conspirators, both domestic and foreign, who were disillusioned with Mary's reign and her marriage to Philip II of Spain, which had intensified fears of Spanish domination and the re-establishment of Catholicism in England. Dudley's plan, known as the Dudley Conspiracy, aimed to incite an uprising, seize control of the government, and place Princess Elizabeth, who was seen as a more favourable Protestant alternative, on the throne. The conspiracy involved acquiring arms and support from France, with which England was at odds. Dudley, along with his co-conspirators, sought to capitalise on the widespread discontent with Mary's marriage and her efforts to reverse Protestant reforms. Despite meticulous planning, Sir Henry Dudley's conspiracy was ultimately thwarted. The plot was betrayed by informants, and the government swiftly moved to suppress it. Key conspirators were arrested, and Dudley himself was forced into exile. The failure of this plot highlighted the challenges faced by those who opposed Mary's rule and the formidable loyalty she commanded among her supporters. Dudley's escape to France did not end his efforts against Mary. From abroad, he continued to scheme and seek support for his cause. However, the climate in England was changing. By the late 1550s, Mary's health was deteriorating, and the succession of Elizabeth, who would restore Protestantism, seemed increasingly likely. Dudley's plots gradually lost their urgency as the natural course of events began to align with his goals. The Dudley family's efforts to depose Queen Mary were significant, not only for their immediate political implications, but also for their lasting impact on the Tudor dynasty and English history. The attempt to place Jane Grey on the throne, though a failure, underscored the fragility of the Tudor succession and the deep religious divisions within England. Jane's brief reign and tragic fate became a poignant symbol of the tumultuous period. Sir Henry Dudley's conspiracy, while less well known, was part of a broader context of resistance to Mary's rule. The efforts of the Dudleys, along with other conspiracies and uprisings, illustrated the persistent opposition to Mary's Catholic policies and the widespread desire for a Protestant monarchy. These plots also demonstrated the lengths to which individuals and factions would go to influence the direction of the English Reformation and the succession. The Dudley family's attempts to depose Queen Mary I highlight the intense political and religious struggles of Tudor England. From the bold but ill-fated bid to place Lady Jane Grey on the throne, to Sir Henry Dudley's clandestine efforts to incite a revolution, the Dudleys were at the forefront of resistance to Mary's reign. These efforts, though ultimately unsuccessful, played a crucial role in shaping the narrative of the Tudor succession and the eventual ascension of Elizabeth I, under whom Protestantism was firmly re-established. The Dudley family's ambitions and actions are a testament to the complexities of power and the relentless pursuit of political and religious objectives in one of the most turbulent periods of English history. Their story is a vivid reminder of the precarious nature of the Tudor throne and the enduring impact of the religious and political conflicts of the era.